Hey everybody, Bryce Koon here. We've got another great episode here on the Crowded Booth as we take a look at the college football landscape. And while the original idea of NIL is now just pay to play, we're going to talk about that and more here on the Crowded Booth.
Crowded Booth is coming on. The Crowded Booth with Bryce Koon.
Hey everybody, we welcome you to another episode of the Crowded Booth. Bryce Koon alongside Ralph Leary. Ralph, how you doing today?
It's been a great day and been a great week, honestly. Played some golf yesterday.
Played some golf yesterday.
Weather's been really great. It's a little overcast today, but other than that, it's been terrific.
It's almost summertime, which means springtime is officially almost in the books. Spring football's over, which normally, Ralph, means that there might be a tad little bit of a lull in the college football world. Well, that's not the case for, obviously, today's day and age. Today, we're talking a little bit about the NIL, and we're talking about the pay-to-play. Now, Ralph, I know the title and what we're going to be talking about and the way we recorded this is a little bit different, but we're going to be talking about NIL and the pay-to-play. And let's just kind of overarch this. I want to give my thoughts, and I want to get you to tell me yours. The initial thing is there's a lot of people angry about this. There's a lot of people frustrated with what's happened. But there's two caveats that I want people to try to understand. Direct your fear, direct your anger at this, not at these two. Don't direct your anger at the programs that have the donor base to pony up the money. Don't direct your anger at them. They're doing it above the table now, what is legal. And second, don't direct your anger at the players that are taking the best opportunities for themselves to make money. If it's legal now and you can do everything above ground, then why wouldn't you?
Right.
You need to direct your anger at the NCAA. I tweeted this the other day. They have dropped the ball continuously over and over again with the implementation of said rules over the past 10 to 15 years. It's just been a disaster. And so I think that's the biggest thing we're going to talk about today is where to direct your anger. Don't do it at the players. Don't do it at the programs. If you want to be mad that Texas A&M has one of the largest bases of donor money that we've ever seen, collective money we'll call it, USC seemingly can poach any recruit that they want even after they've committed to a transfer to another school, don't be mad at the school. They're doing all of this because the NCAA has allowed it. So I want to get your thoughts on that, Ralph, because I think that there's a lot of misconstrued anger at saying, well, these kids are greedy, or these programs, they're just doing all these different things. This is the NCAA's fault.
Right. And you bring up Texas A&M. That's a perfect example right now because of this past year's signing class. They dominated. And people were kind of like, where were they sitting all this on? What was so enticing at A&M that everyone wants to go there? I mean, Jimbo Fisher's a great coach, yes, very much so. They have a chance to make a run this year. They do every year. I mean, they play in the SEC, but people forget about what's been going on there for the 30, 40 years before this. Is that it's an agricultural college. They have millions and millions of dollars tied into with farmers down there in the area, and that our donors have just said, it's legal now. We'll just throw money at the school, and that's what happens. And this is like, you look at Texas A&M, Texas, you can even like Oklahoma, all your big Power 5 schools that your big brands like USC and all them, they're going to dominate these days. I mean, they are a big name school in a small area of a state. Texas is so big, but in that Austin area, I mean, UT is going to dominate. College Station area, I mean, A&M is going to dominate. It's just that those recruiting areas are now that's their area because they're going to pull so well.
Yeah, unless a school like, I think it affects it on different ways. And let's say this, because the kids are going to view this differently. We've talked a lot about this on our college football shows about with a school like Alabama being able to go in other places and Georgia being able to go other places and pull in recruits. And I'll ask you this. Do you think that a kid's going to say, yeah, I could go play for a championship in Alabama, but that NIL money just 10, 15 minutes down the road is pretty enticing. It does give a leg up for the elite brands to become elite programs. And you know what I mean by that? Like Texas is an elite brand. They're not an elite program. USC, I mean, think about, Ralph, think about all the quarterbacks that have been poached from the Southern California area. Like those kids may want to stay home now because the NIL money's there. And I think Lincoln Riley's going to get that ball rolling over there in Southern California. But do you think kids are going to view it differently now that they kind of see, okay, I know I can go halfway across the country to compete, but man, the NIL money's here, and they've got some good things going on. You may not have to be an elite program to lock down your area anymore.
Right. I mean, it shows you in the past. I mean, Alabama's been able to poach everywhere. I mean, because of them being an elite program, and Georgia's getting to that situation now where they've been able to poach in Alabama, Florida, and Tennessee, and every state. So, like I said, the NIL money just right down the road. Why would you not go there?
Mm-hmm.
USC's got some money, dude. They're going to be able to throw some money around, get some players that stay in state. But there are going to be those high school players that say, I still want to play for a championship team. I don't want to go play at small school down the street that can give me a lot of money. I want to go play for a championship and maybe play in the NFL one day. But every player is different in high school. Everyone has a different different view. You see your big name players that will go to smaller colleges. We had one this past year, obviously, that shocked the world and showed that the power of the NIL money. So a lot of things are going to change. Just you were so used to like committing early on, and that player stay committed till maybe that signing day. He might flip last minute. We're not used to seeing someone flip right before he signs to a FCS college. No one's used to that.
Yeah, it's so different. And I think kind of what we started the show out is where to direct your anger, what it's going to look like in the future. I don't know if we really have a grasp, an idea of what it's going to look like. We're going to talk about that a little bit more when we come back here on the Crowded Booth.
Cook's Place began serving our signature hot dogs in 1985 from a cart on Broadway. We still serve the best hot dogs and scrambled dogs in town at the corner of Moon and Miller Road and at the landings. Our friendly staff won't let you leave hungry. Come in and eat to the beat with our 50s jukebox. Cook's Place, fast service, great people, awesome food. What are you waiting for?
Back here in the Crowded Booth, we appreciate if you're watching on the YouTube channel or if you're listening on the radio or on our podcast platforms as well. Make sure to follow us on social media at the Crowded Booth. We're talking about NIL, pay for play, and just kind of trying to wrap up here in an episode what's happened over the past week. And then I think we're going to take some more in-depth look at this kind of stuff. But Ralph, this is another viewpoint I have of this and going back to what the NCAA and why you should be mad. Because the NCAA, I want to say, you have a problem. There is a problem with this. There's no doubt about it. We know over the past couple of days there's been some measures to try to put together councils and figure out what they want to do with this to try to relegate it. But you've treated now, and you've treated amateur and student athletes like professionals. So how hard is it going to be to kind of reverse, and try to take steps back? That's something that's going to be very interesting because you've given them a taste of this, and now you're going to kind of have to come in and regulate stuff, which I think for the overall health of the sport is something that I want to see. But I think it's way harder, Ralph, to backtrack on something than it is just to implement something from the start. And I think what happened, Ralph, is we had a lot of people who made these decisions, and they had a 5-foot view when they should have had a 5-year view of how this would affect these things. These decisions that have been put in place, oh, yeah, that's a good idea. That's a good idea. That's a good idea. Okay, well, I said a 5-year view. We're not even a year into this full thing now. I mean, and it's already something that I think was a near sight on the NCAA's part. But I think we can agree it's going to be very hard to backtrack and try to regulate some of these things when there's already figures that are public. There's already things that are, like I said earlier, above ground. None of this stuff, there's no grab bag. There's no McDonald's bags with cash. There's no money man. I mean, this is all done above the table. And I think it's going to be very interesting to see kind of how they backtrack with that.
Yeah, like you said, figures on the table. I think the biggest one was Quinn Edwards. I mean, coming out of reclassified to a year back, so he graduated early, came to Ohio State in the fall, never stepped on the field in the game, never threw a ball in the full jersey, made $1 million and transferred to Texas to get more money. That man has made more money than you and I combined, Bryce, and he hasn't played a single game of football in college yet.
It's nuts to think about.
And the backtrack on that, I mean, like, imagine some player who wants to do the same thing, and now they make some regulations. Okay, why do I get penalized for the same thing that I'm trying to do the same thing he did, and now it doesn't work for me because you messed up in the first place.
Because like we said earlier, it's not the player's fault. The
No, it's not.
NCAA just instituted this, and they said, yeah, sounds good, let's do it, with no regulation whatsoever. And listen, I was talking with someone the other day who is involved in recruiting, and he said, Bryce, this is a nightmare. It's an absolute nightmare of a situation that's going on. So as we kind of wrap up this kind of mashed together episode of this, Ralph, I mean, this is the problem facing a lot of programs. We are going to have a separation. To me, there's not a question, a separation of elite programs. And you say, what does that mean? No, what it means is they have money backed behind them. They've got an army of resources, both financially, physical resources such as facilities that are top tier technologically and upgraded. And you're going to leave low-level Power 5 teams and group of 5 teams that aren't in big markets. You're going to leave them in the dust. I mean, there's going to be no competition. And I can tell you right now, there's programs that are operating at the low-level Power 5 and maybe a mid-tier level group of 5 that know right now through the transfer portal, they can't compete. Even if they get a commitment out of the portal, if the kid doesn't sign a letter or anything or any paperwork to enroll in the college, then it's just going to turn around. He can go somewhere else. It's happening right now. And so how, in your opinion, I mean, how do you go about in regulating this? I mean, I think this is a real thing that's going to happen. It's not if the NCAA, it's kind of a double-edged sword. If they crack down, we talked about what you're talking about, you're going to have kids saying, okay, so for a year and a half, people just got to do whatever they want. Why can't I benefit from that? Or 2, so that's your thing, you're going to have players want to revolt. Or 2, you're going to have a complete separation of, we'll just say like we'll just call it what they've been saying for the past 10 years, a super conference, a mega conference of teams that can compete both on and off the field.
I mean, if you're going to have to regulate things, you're going to have to regulate the amount of people or the amount of, I guess, profit you're giving out. You know, I mean, I know that sounds weird in that, obviously A&M has a higher profit than, App State or Georgia Tech maybe. I mean, I hate saying Georgia Tech, but Cincinnati maybe. Let's just go with something like that. Cincinnati made a Final Four this year. They made the playoffs this past year. That's incredible for a team. A&M, well, they have 4 losses this year.
I mean, 8-4, something like that.
Yeah, it'd be Alabama obviously, but 8-4. You win against Alabama, and then you number 1 recruiting class. They have more money to give out than Cincinnati does. Where's the fairness in that for that school? So you put a cap space basically on that college's ability to send out money, to send out NIL money out for that kind of those players that are coming in and players that are already there. You have to do something to regulate where a guy can be so far ahead of everybody else and still be not even playing yet. I mean, you got guys who play for $1 million who haven't played sitting on the field compared to guys who played 3 to 4 years already and maybe get a local contract from a local store, maybe.
Yeah. I'll tell you this, the biggest thing that I've seen of where they wanted this to be is back where I went to college, Berry College. They have a place, they got a wings place downtown Rome, and it sponsored the quarterback, and all he did was a little radio ad, and I think he took a picture with a Jefferson's t-shirt on, put it on social media. That's what that was the infant mind of the NCAA. That's what they thought this was going to be. And it hasn't. It's pay for play, whether you like it or not. This is what college football is right now. Something's got to be done, or it's going to go in 2 different ways. That's just kind of how we see it. But hey, I'll ask you this, not you, Ralph, but the viewers. What do you think? What do you think? Let us know down in the comments below, because this is definitely something that's a very interesting topic of conversation. Make sure to subscribe to the channel as well as we continue talking at length. We know you love the Atlanta Braves coverage. We can tell that. We can also tell some of the comments elsewhere on the Braves coverage is very, very interesting. But we're going to continue to talk more and more about this college football ever-changing landscape, because truly there is no off-season, especially with what college football is doing now. For Ralph Leary, my name's Bryce Koon. Thanks for listening on the radio. Make sure to hit us up on social media at The Crowded Booth. This has been another episode brought to you by Dodder Squatch, Cook's Place, and Climate Control Heating and Air. See you, everybody.
Pile in here and make yourself feel at home. coming on. The Crowded Booth with Bryce Koon.